cannot talk. Buenas noches y Dios le bendiga en esta noche. Estamos para traer el estudio de la santidad de Dios, encontrándose con el Dios Santo. Encountering the Holy God. Tonight we are online to start a study on the holiness of God. And this study came out, this week we were supposed to be reading through, the woman Bible class that we are having in our church. We were supposed to be reading from, looking through the Bible, anything and everything, not everything, but things that have to do with God's holiness. En esta semana, en el estudio que estamos teniendo, las mujeres, los lunes, uno de los objetivos era leer a través de la semana referente a lo que es la santidad de Dios. Y eso me trajo, that brought me to bring out, eso me trajo a sacar a desire, un deseo that I had, que tuve for many years, por muchos años. I've been I'll say over 10 years that I have had that desire to talk, to bring to the church, to my brothers and sisters. Esto era mi deseo de traer a los hermanos, a la iglesia, what is the attributes of God, lo que son los atributos de Dios. Ese deseo lo he tenido por muchos años. And those who know me, esos que me conocen for years I'm teaching, de los tiempos que he estado enseñando, you know that I'm very fond of talking about God. Me fascina hablar de Dios, especially his attributes. And that have brought me, getting into the attributes of God, entrando en los atributos de Dios, me ha llevado a través de mi vida, it have brought me through my life to when I had encountered many situations, not that I'm there yet, I'm just, it have helped me. Let me just, before I keep going, because I get all frazzled and start, just if you can share, I'm not sure how to share. Let me see if I can. Sometime I try. Okay, share, invite. Invite. Sorry, give me 1 minute because I don't know how to do this all together. But if I tag you, you can tag somebody else because I most likely will not be able to tag everybody. So yeah, let's leave it there. Just share, invite somebody, because there are some people that they want to participate, but I don't have them on my contacts, so I'm not able to invite them. So if you can share, comparte, invita y todas esas cosas, ¿verdad? Para que más personas puedan participar, so more people can take benefit of it. So basically, as I was saying, many years ago, I started looking into what is the attributes of God. Empecé a buscar lo que eran los atributos de Dios, inspired by a couple of writers, preachers that they were up at that time that I was looking, like Paul Washer. It was Paul Washer. It was R.C. Sproul, A.W. Tusser. All those writers, and I can keep naming writers that I had taken that had inspired me to look further into what is the attributes of God. So what we were doing through the week, mientras estábamos en la semana looking through the holiness of God, I said, you know what? I should just start and get this and starting, because as I say, it's been years under doing it, muchos años que he tenido el deseo de hacerlo. So, basically, today, well, we're going to have a few sessions. Vamos a tener varias secciones with the attributes of God. We're going to be talking about the attributes of God. Vamos a estar tocando lo que son los atributos de Dios. And today we're going to start with one of the main, I see, like the glue that put everything together, which is the holiness of God. Y hoy vamos a estar empezando con lo que es la santidad de Dios. Y es un tema ancho, it's a broad topic. And when you take it personal, when you take it in you, cuando tú lo coges personal, lo coges para ti, tú puedes sacarle un beneficio increíble. You can bring great benefit from it. Okay, so why it's important to study the attributes of God. ¿Por qué estudiar los atributos de Dios? Dice la Biblia en Oseas, capítulo 6, versículo 3, y conoceremos y proseguiremos en conocer a Jehová. Como el alba está dispuesta a su salida y vendrá a nosotros como la lluvia tardía y temprana a la tierra. Oseas 6:3. It says, let us pursue the knowledge of the Lord. His going forth is established as the morning. He will come to us like the rain, like the latter and former rain to the earth. Talking about Hosea chapter 6, verse 3. Why do we want to study the God's attribute? ¿Por qué queremos estudiar los atributos de Dios? To study the attributes of God is to pursue the highest knowledge possible. Because when you pursue knowing God, not knowing of God, but knowing God, the knowledge of the holy, theology is not an abstract. Sometimes, people hear the word theology, and theology only means the study of God. That's all. And, theology is not an abstract pursuit for the intelligent. You don't go to study the attributes of God just to gain knowledge. But when you go into studying the attributes of God, that will pull you into worship. It will pull you into humility. It will pull you into transformation. That's the purpose. You don't go into the attributes of God saying, I am going to study this and I'm going to be big-headed. You don't want to have knowledge without having the humbleness that God provide. Estudiar los atributos de Dios es buscar el conocimiento más elevado posible. El conocimiento del santo. Mira, la teología no es una búsqueda abstracta solo de conocimiento intelectual para agrandar la mente. Es un llamado a la adoración. Es un llamado a la humildad y a la transformación. So that's the purpose. That's what we're looking for when we get into reading, studying the attributes of God. As I mentioned at the beginning, Paul Washer was one of my pusher on the attributes of God, because if you know Paul Washer, he's American evangelist. I might not register to the full theology that he believes, but when it comes to the attributes of God, I am 100% there. And something that I like about him too is that he is bilingual. He did a whole missionary endeavor in Peru. So he's fully bilingual. So that create a connection too, because, he can preach either in Spanish or English, and I got to know him. And one thing that he always say, a low view of God, this is something that he said, is the cause of 100 lesser evils. So when you have a low view of God, when God for you is a little box, and you put it in a corner, if I need you, I call you, it's the cause of 100 lesser evil. But he said too, the high view of God is the solution to 10,000 temporal problems. The study of God attributes elevate our mind above the noise of the world, and a lot of noise is going on around. It's the noise is, the noise of the world, and restore a true fear, a true fear and reverence for His majesty. Paul Wash recuerda a los creyentes que una baja visión de Dios es la causa de 100 males menores, pero una visión alta de Dios es la solución a 10,000 problemas temporales. Y subraya la palabra temporales. El estudio de los atributos de Dios eleva nuestra mente por encima del ruido del mundo. Y como dije en la parte en inglés, ¿verdad? El ruido que está sucediendo en estos momentos es inmenso. So we have to get on with it so we can move above that big noise that is happening everywhere, with politics, with religion, with you name it, it is on. So, cuando el estudio, que yo estaba diciendo, el estudio de los atributos de Dios eleva nuestra mente por encima del ruido del mundo y restaura el verdadero amor y el verdadero temor y la reverencia de su majestad. Su majestad, el rey. No king, yes king. King of king. El rey de reyes, señor de señores. King of king and Lord of lords. We do, through the holiness of God, we're going to see a king, vamos a ver a Isaías, through the study of the holiness of God, we're going to see Isaiah, vamos a ver a Isaías, and we're going to see what happened when a king is gone, when there's no king. And we keep going. Okay. So, as I said before, I have gone through a lot of reading. He hecho mucha lectura de lo que son los atributos de Dios. What is the attributes of God? I have read R.C. Sproul. I have read A.W. Tozer, which they are big on it, on the subject. And R.C. Sproul, he passed to be with the Lord a couple of years back. And again, I might not register fully, and I want to put this out here, 100% with his theology, his fundamental belief. But in the core doctrines, I do go with him. And he said on his writing, he's big on the holiness of God. And he emphasized that the greatest pursuit of the Christian mind is the pursuit of God Himself. When we contemplate His holiness, justice, love, mercy, and sovereign, when we look into all those attributes of God, then we begin to understand not only who God is, but who we are in relation to Him. Because sometimes we have this great belief that we are so and so. We have titles, we have degrees, we have position, we have wealth, we have so many things. And sometimes, if you put your wealth against mine, if you compare your bank account to my bank account, you might be all the way over there. But we have to compare ourselves to the God Almighty. When you compare your wealth to the God Almighty, and then you will see where you're at. Okay, so that's basically, So he emphasized that, we begin to understand not only who God is, but who are we? Who am I? And we are just creatures. We are completely dependent on His grace. There's nothing, a decirlo en español, ¿verdad? Él enfatizó, estoy hablando de R.C. Sproul, un escritor, un pastor americano, el Legionnaire, The Legionnaire, él tenía ese instituto, y todavía los estudios de él salen en el internet. Yo sé que si usted mira mucho videos cristianos, usted lo ha encontrado a él. Él enfatizó que la mayor búsqueda que la mente cristiana puede tener es buscar a Dios mismo. A veces buscamos las añadiduras, buscamos pequeñas cosas, pero al contemplar su santidad, al contemplar su justicia, al contemplar su amor, su misericordia y su soberanía, comenzamos a entender no solo quién es Dios, sino quiénes somos nosotros en relación a Dios. Somos simplemente criatura completamente dependiente de su gracia. Y otro también que para poner un comentario, ¿verdad? W.A.W. Tozer, él tiene varios volúmenes de lo que es el conocimiento de Dios, lo que es la santidad de Dios, lo que son los atributos de Dios. Si usted quiere centrarse más y más en el tema, yo le aconsejo esos escritores, ¿verdad? Otra vez, ¿verdad? Digo con un grano de sal, como dice, no me registro 100% a su teología, pero lo que es en la teología de Dios, el registro. A.W. Tozer said, the knowledge of the holy, and then he says something that it's always hit me. I can read that 1,000,000 times, and I agree, when you say I agree. What comes to our mind when we think about God is the most important things about us. Cuando usted piensa en Dios, ¿qué es lo primero que viene a su mente? When you think about God, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? A right view of God shapes every area of our life. Every area. It can be personal and how at home, at church, at work, our worship, our morality, our relationship, our mission. The way that you see God is the way that you're going to act on all those areas in your life. So, el conocimiento del santo, el conocimiento de Dios, escribió A.W. Tozer, lo que viene a nuestra mente cuando pensamos en Dios es lo más importante acerca de nosotros. Una visión correcta de Dios forma todas las áreas de nuestra vida, nuestra adoración, nuestra moralidad, nuestras relaciones con los demás, nuestra misión. So, in summary and this introduction, to study the attributes of God then is to draw near the blazing center of the truth of holiness. So, estudiar los atributos de Dios entonces es acercarse al centro del fuego de la verdad and the holiness y de la santidad. No es dominar el conocimiento. It's not just to master the knowledge, sino ser dominado, but to be mastered by it. So, when I deep into the attributes of God, I'm not looking to master the knowledge. I'm not looking to be able to answer a question like this. I'm not looking at none of that. I am looking into mastering, be mastered by Him. So, al estudiar los atributos de Dios, entonces, es acercarse al centro de la verdad y a la santidad. No es dominar el conocimiento. Conocimiento, este mundo está lleno de conocimiento. Sino es ser dominado por Él para contemplar la hermosura del Señor y ser transformado a su semejanza. It's that to behold the beauty of the Lord and to be transformed into His likeness. So that's our goal. to be transformed to his likeness. Ese es nuestro objetivo, ser transformado a su semejanza. So that is our prayer every day. I want to be more like Jesus. You know, I want to be like him. So, you know, we were having, estábamos estudiando, estaba el pastor predicando hoy en Primera de Corintios, capítulo 13, el capítulo del amor, ¿verdad? Our pastor was preaching today on 1 Corinthians chapter 13, which is a chapter of love. And he was talking about loving like Jesus. Y él estaba hablando, amando como Cristo. And when we get into the attributes of God, cuando nos metemos en los atributos de Dios, when we get into knowing God, cuando nos metemos en conocer a Dios, then you can start, you know, you get to know how to love like Jesus, because, well, let's keep going. So we have our first attribute. We're going to be going through a few of them. Every Sunday at 7, I'm making my goal to bring one attribute every Sunday. So that is something that I wanted to do it for years and years and years. And it's my prayer, you know, with this introduction, it's my prayer that God brings that fire in you. Es mi oración que cuando tú veas este video, Dios traiga ese fuego a ti. That's a desire, ese deseo to know him more, de conocerlo mejor. And I pray that, you know, that through the years, through the months, through the weeks that you know, you're going to be on this earth. We don't know when the Lord's going to call you. No sabemos cuando Dios te va a llamar o cuando Él va a venir a buscarnos. We don't know when that's going to happen. But I hope, and it's my prayer, that through this time, you can grow near, you can get near, more, acercarte más a Él, you can grow near to Him, and you can grow in Him and His knowledge. Porque el deseo es conocer a Dios. No simplemente conocer de Dios. I just don't want to know about God. I want to know God. And you can tell like Moses, you know, I want to know you. I want you to show me your presence. Enséñame si tu presencia no va conmigo, yo no voy. If your presence is not going with me, I don't want to go nowhere. So that's something that you know, it's my prayer. And you know, I pray that you grow in the knowledge of the Lord. That is my prayer all the time, that you know, you grow. Mi oración es que tú crezca en el conocimiento de Dios. Crece en el conocimiento de Dios, porque cuando tú sabes quién es Dios, tú no vas a conocer a Dios completamente. You're not going to know God completely, but you are going to get, you know, you're going to get closer to Him. And as you get closer to Him, you are going to get to know you better. You will not have that wrong impression of you. No vas a tener esa impresión incorrecta de ti, sino vas a tener la impresión correcta. Entonces, vamos a buscar Isaías capítulo 6, which is, you know, you cannot talk about the holiness of God without reading Isaiah chapter 6, because that's the chapter, that's the key. So, I'm going to read it quickly. So, let me find it. It says, in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above his two seraphim, each one has 6 wings. With 2 they cover his face, with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one cried to another and said, Holy, holy is the holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory. So, you know, no podemos hablar, como dije anteriormente, no podemos hablar de la santidad de Dios sin entrar al capítulo 6 de Isaías. Y si vamos a decir, ¿qué es santidad? What is holiness? You know, what is to be holy? So, you know, la santidad no es solo uno de los atributos de Dios, sino es la corona que lo une todo, como dije al principio, you know. Holiness is not just one divine attribute of God, but it's that, like the sum of all. It's like the crown that get them all together. So, you know, holiness is be set apart. It being consecrated. It can is mean morally pure. You know, when you say something is holy, you think that something is pure. But you know, it's so through the Bible you find that, you know, the utensils were holy, they were set apart. Los utensilios eran santos, eran separados. Usted ve que los sacerdotes eran santos. The priests were holy, they were separated. But then it talks about the morally pure, the pureza moral. So God is utterly unique and perfectly pure in all his ways. So Dios es completamente santo. You know, él es completamente santo, y no nada más eso, sino que él es él es, ¿cómo lo traduzco? Estoy tratando de pensar. I'm sorry, se me fue el español. I just Spanish. I just forgot Spanish. Oh gosh, I'm in trouble. I don't know much English and I'm forgetting Spanish. So, you know, God is utterly unique and perfectly pure in all his ways. So Dios es completamente único y perfectamente puro en todos sus caminos. En todos sus caminos. Dios es puro, Dios es único. Dios es único. Y la santidad no es solo uno de los atributos de Dios, sino que la corona de Dios, ¿verdad? Como yo dije. Holy is the way God is. He is the standard. And R.C. Sproul says, you know, God holiness transcends every human category. So, la santidad de Dios trasciende todas las categorías humanas. So, because when we talk about the holiness of God, we're talking about how he is unique on himself. For instance, I'm a woman. And if I go outside right now and tour, I find a few women. Well, I am a Hispanic woman. If I keep going, I go to the Bronx, I can find a couple of Hispanic women. I am a Hispanic Dominican woman. If I keep going, I can find a Hispanic Dominican woman. So, yo soy una mujer y encuentro otra mujer. Yo soy una mujer hispana, encuentro otra mujer hispana. Soy una mujer hispana dominicana, encuentro. So, I can relate. You can relate to somebody else. Tú te puedes relacionar con otra persona. Even twins, they can relate to other people. Now, God, there's no relationship. There's no relation to God. God is unique. So that is something that you always want to have clear in your mind about God. He is unique. So, algo que tú tienes que tener claro en lo que quién es Dios. Dios es único. En su esencia, Él es único. Yo soy una mujer y puede haber otra mujer. Tú eres un hombre, un niño, y puede haber otro hombre, otro niño. Hay relación de mí con otra persona. O sea, me puedo parecer. De mujer, de color, de cabello, de todo. Pero Dios es único. God is unique on his essence. So that's something that we always want to have clear. Siempre queremos tener eso presente. We always want to have something, you know, to go about God. But you know, God is unique. Dios es absolutamente único y perfectamente puro en todos sus caminos. En todos sus caminos. La santidad de Dios no es solo uno de sus atributos divinos, sino la corona que lo une a todos, a todos. So, holiness defines the very essence of God. Everything he does flows from that absolute purity. When Isaiah cried on verse 3, the Bible says, holy, holy, holy. It's relevant that God is in infinity, like, holy. He is in his being, he is holy. And something that you want to, that you find on the holiness of God is that if you see all the attributes, algo que tú encuentras en la santidad de Dios, es que si tú buscas los otros atributos de Dios, if you look for the other attributes that God has, you don't find, mercy, mercy, mercy. No. Tú no encuentras misericordia, misericordia, misericordia. No. Tú no encuentras amor, amor, amor. You don't find love, love, love. No. The only one that is a triad, that is like to the third, que es a la tercera, que es al máximo, es la santidad. Santo, santo, santo. Holy, holy, holy. So God is infinitely holy in his being, perfect in his justice and majesty in his glory. The encounter. So to encounter the holy, one is to realize our utter smallness. So, holy, 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 human, little, little, little. Santo, 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 humanos, chiquito, chiquito, chiquito. So when you get that proportion, then you find yourself in the right place. La santidad define la esencia misma de Dios. Todo lo que él hace brota de esa pureza. Cuando Isaías escuchó el clamor angélico, santo, 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 vio que Dios es infinitamente santo en su ser, perfecto en su justicia y majestuoso en su gloria. Encontrarse con el santo es reconocer nuestra pequeñez and our need for his grace. We have to recognize how small we are and we need his grace. Somos pequeños y necesitamos su gracia. Holiness calls believers to reverence. Our first response to the holy God should not be activity, but all. To worship him is to surrender every false notion of control and to stand in humble adoration. So basically, it's to surrender. It's to, come to him with humility. We were studying about humility last week. Estuvimos estudiando lo que es la humildad la semana pasada, ¿verdad? Y venir y reconocer la santidad de Dios nos llama a la reverencia. Nuestra primera respuesta ante el Dios Santo no debe ser actividad, sino la adoración. Adorarle significa rendir toda pretensión, all those false notions that we have of control, that we think that we are in control. Esa noción que creemos pretender que estamos en control. Y permanecer en humildad y adoración. We are to stand in humble adoration. So basically, that's I'll say an introduction to the holiness of God, So when Isaiah confronted you, and you can start by reading, you can read the chapter 6. Puede leer el capítulo 6 de Isaías del capítulo del versículo 1 al versículo 8, from chapter 6 from Isaiah from 1 through 8. And you find in that chapter, that there's something happened. Something happened to Isaiah at that point. A king had died. If you read, it says, in the year that King Uzziah died, en el año que murió el rey Uzías. And, for you to understand what was happening, para tú entender lo que está pasando, you have to come back in history. Tú tienes que entrarte a la historia. Who was King Uzziah? ¿Quién era el rey Usías? King Uzziah was king for over 50 years in Israel. El rey Usías fue rey por sobre 50 años en Israel. Isaiah only knew him. Isaías solo lo conoció a él. You know, this king died, you know, and there was a lot of uncertainties. There was, King Uzziah was a symbol of national stability for Israel. El rey Usías era el punto de la estabilidad de la nación. Y la muerte de este rey marcó un tiempo de incertidumbre. So the death of this king, marked a time of uncertainty. Yet, pero, Isaiah saw the Lord still in his throne. Isaías todavía vio a Dios en su trono. Se murió el rey Usías. King Uzziah died, but God was in his throne. Pero Isaías vio a Dios en su trono. You know, the heavenly vision reveals God's transcendence. You know, like, how God is above all. You know, I'm trying to define the word transcendence, but it's, way, way up on us. And humans, in this Isaiah chapter 6, you find God's transcendence and human sinfulness. You know, the sin in, side by side. You see God's holiness and man not so holy. So, and the seraphim cried, holy, 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 and reveals God's moral perfection and infinite majesty. Holy, holy, holy. So, la muerte del rey Usías era un símbolo de estabilidad nacional, marcó un tiempo de incertidumbre, pero Isaías vio a Dios todavía sentado en su trono, y todavía hoy, and still today, God is in his throne. La visión celestial de la trascendencia de Dios deja ver la pecaminosidad humana, lado a lado. O sea, Dios santo, hombre pecador. Cada etapa en el encuentro de Isaías revela, la convicción, la revelación, la limpieza y la comisión. Refleja el patrón de la verdadera renovación espiritual. So, the seraphim cry, holy, 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 and reveal God's moral perfection and infinite majesty. And those etapas, those stages that Isaiah went through, revelation, conviction, cleansiness, commission. So, you see the pattern, how it goes. And that pattern had to go through any renovation, spiritual renovation. El clamor de los serafines, santo, 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 demuestra la perfección y la infinita majestad de Dios. When I'm talking about the attributes of God, I get excited. I get all over the place. Because it's like the majesty of God is awe. It's like it'll leave you with no words. There's no way to define, that you cannot, es algo increíble. But, Isaiah vision take place, as I say, in the year that King Uzziah died. You see, he reigned for over 50 years, and he had a long reign. He brought prosperity to Israel, but his pride led to his downfall. If you want to go find out about King Uzziah, then you go to 2 Chronicles chapter 26. You want to go and look, if you want to go further. In this moment of loss, Isaiah discovered not though, that early king died, like this earthly king died. The Lord reigns forever. So, you see King Uzziah died, but the Lord reigns forever. He is king forever. The temple is seen as symbolized both judgment and mercy. The smoke filling the house evoke Sinai, and the place of divine revelation. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce Sinai, but it's the mount of God. When Isaiah behold God's holiness, you know what happened to him? He became profoundly aware of his unworthiness. Woe is me, he said, for I am undone. So, I am dead. I am because he understood. This is something that algo que sucede cuando hay un encuentro con Dios. No es momento de hacer cosas. Es momento de entender, de mirar mi condición comparada con Dios. Like I usually tell, I say all the time, you can compare yourself to me, or I can compare myself to you, and I might be, a different stage, or you might be on a different stage. But, our measurement, nuestra medida, es Dios, Jesucristo. Como estábamos hablando hoy del amor, amando como Jesús amó, loving like Jesus loved. When you love to that level, then you can say, you're loving, and that's not going to happen. You're never going to outdone Jesus and love and nothing, Pero la visión de Isaías ocurre en el año, como dije anteriormente, que murió el rey Uzziah. Estoy leyendo el comentario para tenerlo en contexto. El largo reinado de Uzziah trajo prosperidad, pero su orgullo lo llevó a la caída. Y la semana pasada estábamos hablando del orgullo, ¿verdad? Y de la humildad. Y el orgullo siempre trae caída. Y también dije, puede ver la historia de Uzías en Segundo de Crónica, capítulo 26. En este momento de pérdida, Isaías descubre que aunque los reyes terrenales mueren, el Señor reina para siempre. Y la escena del templo simboliza juicio y misericordia. El humo que llena la casa evoca Sinaí, el lugar de la revelación divina. Cuando Isaías contempla la santidad de Dios, se vuelve profundamente consciente de su condición. Ay de mí, dice él, que soy muerto. Y la frase, ¿verdad? Ay de mí que soy muerto significa estoy destruido, enmudecido. La santidad de Dios siempre revela la pecaminosidad del hombre. The holiness of God always reveals the sinfulness of man. And that's why many times we don't want to deal with that. Y por eso que muchas veces no queremos llegar ahí. No queremos. That's why sometimes, we prefer to be on the side. We prefer to be like over there, just stay there. If I need you, I'll call you. But, we want to keep God in a little box, in a little corner. When I need him, when my child is being rebellious, cuando mi hijo está rebelde, then you say, come God, I need help with my child. But we don't want that God Almighty, holy, that show us who we are. But, we have to. Before I'm talking about Isaiah, before God used a person, he first purified the heart. Holiness is not meant to crush us. Sometimes we are afraid of the holy God. We are afraid. And, through reading, like I was reading R.C. Sproul and I was reading A.W. Tozer, and they go into details how man is afraid of the holy God because as soon as you encounter the holy God, you find yourself lacking. Hasta en mi lectura, ¿verdad? Encontré que los escritores que estaba leyendo estaban estableciendo en su contexto que cuando tú te encuentras con el Dios Santo, causa temor, porque en el momento en que tú te encuentras con el Dios Santo, tú te das cuenta de tu condición. You know, again, you know, I can pair with you or I cannot pair with you, but neither you and I can pair with God. You know, so holiness is not mean, you know, it's not meant to crush you, but to clean you, to cleanse you, and to commission you. You know, like Isaiah, we must experience conviction before mission. Conviction before mission. You know, sometimes we want to go and we want to do and we want to be outside. I'm telling you, talking about me, I want to be outside. But I have to go through that conviction before mission, because sometimes, you know, when I go outside and I haven't had that experience, I mess up things up. I mess it up. Y ante Dios, antes de que Dios use a una persona, primero Él purifica su corazón. Y como estaba diciendo, ¿verdad? La santidad no es para aplastarnos, sino para limpiarnos. Para limpiarnos y después enviarnos. Como Isaías, debemos pasar por la convicción antes de la comisión. Antes de ir a la China, before I go to China, I have to work with this humble body here. So, we covered what is I'm looking to the time to make sure, you know, because I'm sitting at home, you know, if I were to be at church, I would have to pay attention. But, you know, you're sitting at home and I'm sitting at home. I see mi mamita está en línea. Sí, mami. Y le doy la bienvenida, que no he tomado el tiempo, a las personas que están en línea y a las que se van a comunicar luego. Some people have told me, you know, they're not going to log in now, but they're going to watch it later because the timing is not good. So that is fine. You know, if you can share this after, that is good too. You know, that other people can come to this teaching. It, you know, it's something that if you want, you can do. You know, if you don't want, you don't have to do it. But anyway, so I'm just easing up the next subject, because the next one is, you know, we're talking about God, the holiness of God, and that looks nice. But there's another aspect to the holiness of God. Hay otro aspecto a lo que es la santidad de Dios. And we find that, let me find my Bible here. I have my Bible over here. So we move now to the New Testament, and we move to 1 Peter. And we move to 1 Peter, and we move to chapter 1 of 1 Peter. And we're going to be in verse 19 and further down. So vamos a buscar en Primera de Pedro, el capítulo 1, y vamos a leer del 13 al 19. Lo vamos a parafrasear en lo que cabe, ¿verdad? So let's read it. You know, we can read it. We have a couple of minutes. Therefore, gird up the loins of your mind. Gird up the loins of your mind. So, por tanto, ceñid los lomos de vuestro entendimiento. O sea, it's like you taking a horse and you are, you know, putting the thing that goes on the horse before you go on. But, you know, it's your mind. And rest your hope fully upon the grace that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Sed sobrio y esperad por completo en la gracia que se os traerá cuando Jesucristo sea manifestado. Verse 14. As obedient children, not conforming yourself to the former lusts, as in your ignorance, como hijos obedientes, no conforme a los deseos que antes teníais estando en vuestra ignorancia, but as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct. Sino que como el que os llamó es santo, sed también vosotros santos en toda vuestra manera de vivir. Verse 16. Because it is written, be holy, for I am holy. Porque está escrito, sed santo, porque yo soy santo. 17. And if you call on the Father, who without partiality judges according to each one's work, conduct yourself throughout the time of your stay here in fear. Y si invocáis por Padre aquel que sin acepción de personas juzga según la obra de cada uno, conducíos en temor todo el tiempo de vuestra peregrinación. Verse 18. Knowing that you were not redeemed with corruptible things, like silver or gold, from your aimless conduct received by tradition from your father, sabiendo que fuisteis rescatados de vuestra manera vana de vivir, la cual recibiste de vuestro padre, no con cosas corruptibles como oro y plata, 19, but with the precious blood of Christ, as a lamb without blemish and without spot. Sabiendo que fuiste rescatado de vuestra manera vana de vivir, la cual recibiste de vuestro Padre, no con cosas corruptibles como oro o plata, sino con la sangre preciosa de Cristo, como la de un cordero sin mancha. Peter writes to believers, so I'm going to read it quickly again, so we can fall into it. It says, therefore, get up on the loins of your mind, be sober, and rest your hope fully upon the grace that is to be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. As obedient children, not conforming yourself to the former lusts as in your ignorance, but as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct, because it is written, be holy, for I am holy. And if you call on the Father, who without partiality judges according to each one work, conduct yourself throughout the time of your stay here in fear, knowing that you were not redeemed with corruptible things like silver or gold from your aimless conduct received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of the Lamb without blemish and without spot. So Peter writes to believers facing trials, reminding them that holiness is their calling, not a burden, but a privilege. So, walking in holiness is not a burden, it's a privilege. As we go through the attributes of God, a medida que pasemos por los atributos de Dios, we're going to find that there are some attributes that they are that they are charitable, if I can call it that. I know in theology there is a specific name for that. I completely left my mind, but son compartibles. They are compatible, so meaning that we participate of them. Participamos de ellos. Por ejemplo, el amor. Nosotros amamos Dios. Dios es amor. And many of those compatible attributes that God shared with us, somehow, it's not a burden, but it's a calling. Algunos de esos atributos que Dios comparte con nosotros no son una carga, sino un privilegio. And the phrase, get up the loins of your mind calls for spiritual readiness and mental discipline. We've been working on disciplines, spiritual disciplines. And as I always say, that as any other discipline, spiritual discipline, you need to practice. You need to practice, you need to practice, you need to practice, because our body is sinful. So sin, we don't have to practice sin because it comes natural. The things of God we have to practice because they don't come natural. So nosotros tenemos el pecado, no tenemos que ensayarlo porque sale natural. Pero Las cosas de Dios hay que practicarlas porque no son naturales. Yeah? So it's not a burden, but a privilege. The phrase, get up the loins of your mind, call for spiritual readiness, mental discipline. Holiness is the reflection of God's nature in the life of his children. So when he called us, be holy, like como el que lo llamó es santo, it says on verse, because it is written, be holy, for I am holy. So he is the one who called us. It says, verse 15, as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct, because it is written, be holy, for I am holy. So holiness is, again, it's a reflection of God's nature in the life of his children. Our holiness is rooted not in law, but in grace and redemption through Jesus Christ. So, Pedro le escribe a los creyentes que se están enfrentando a pruebas, recordándole que la santidad es su llamado, no una carga, sino un privilegio. Y la expresión ceñid los lomos de vuestro entendimiento llama a la preparación espiritual y la disciplina mental. La santidad es el reflejo de la naturaleza de Dios. Es la vida de sus hijos. Nuestra santidad no está basada en la ley, sino en la gracia y redención que tenemos en Jesucristo, ¿verdad? So, Peter, he anchored the command to be holy in the character of God himself. You can go to Leviticus and you can find in Leviticus 11, Leviticus 19, so showing, how holiness is not a new idea. It's the eternal standard of God's people. So it's coming from the Old Testament. It's not nothing new. To be holy is not to live in isolation, but it's to live in consecration. It's, belonging to fully to God in heart, mind, and action, So it's a process. So it's not something that it happens overnight. It's a process. It's, holiness is both positional. We are made holy through Christ's blood, and progressive. We grow in holiness through obedience. So we are holy when we are saved, but then we keep growing. So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Holiness is nothing less than the image of God renewed in man. So that's basically it. He who most sincerely loves God is the most holy man. Holiness is not cold morality, but burning devotion. So it's something that born from our heart. Es algo que nace del corazón. Pedro fundamentalmente fundamenta el mandamiento de ser santo en el carácter mismo de Dios. Ser santo porque yo soy santo. Esta cita proviene de Levítico 11 y 19, mostrando la continuidad entre el Antiguo y el Nuevo Testamento. La santidad no es una idea nueva, es el estándar eterno del pueblo de Dios. Ser santo no significa vivir en aislamiento, sino en consagración. Pertenecer completamente a Dios en pensamiento, corazón y acción. La santidad es posicional. Somos hechos santos por la sangre de Cristo cuando creímos. Y también es progresiva. Crecemos en santidad a través de la obediencia, a través del seguimiento, de la búsqueda. We cannot imitate the holiness of God by willpower alone. It flows from relationship, from knowing the one who is holy. The Christian pursuit of holiness is an act of love. We desire to reflect the one who redeemed us. To live a holy life is to live in alignment with God, heart, and character. No podemos imitar la santidad de Dios por un esfuerzo humano. La santidad de Dios nace de de esa relación constante de conocer a Dios. La búsqueda de la santidad es un acto de amor, no es un acto de obligación. Deseamos reflejar a aquel que nos redimió. O sea, es un agradecimiento. Vivir una vida santa es vivir en alineación con el carácter de Dios. Es vivir en esa alineación. La santidad de Dios se revela en Jesucristo, ¿verdad? En el capítulo 1 de Juan, dice, and the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as the one only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. And Hebrews 12:14 says, pursue the peace with all people and holiness, without which no one will see the Lord. So dice, y aquel verbo fue hecho carne y habitó entre vosotros y vimos su gloria, gloria como la del unigénito del Padre, lleno de gracia y de verdad. Y Hebreos dice, seguid la paz con todo y la santidad, sin la cual nadie verá al Señor. The holiness of God is no longer something distant or part of the Old Testament, parte del Viejo Testamento. In the incarnation, the Word became flesh. Holiness entered human experience. Jesus revealed that divine holiness is not a cold separation, but it's a compassionate nearness. It's this closeness. It's this holiness is not just the man, but it's demonstrated in Christ's life. The true and love. He is true and he's love. That is demonstrated by him. That holiness in his true and his love. La santidad de Dios no está distanciada en el Viejo Testamento, en Levítico, sino que se demuestra en Jesucristo, en la encarnación del Verbo. Él revela que no es una separación fría, sino es una cercanía compasiva. La santidad no solo exige, sino que demuestra la vida, la verdad de Cristo, ¿verdad? En Christ, the invisible God became visible. En Cristo, el Dios invisible se hizo visible. The holiness that once dwelt behind the temple of the veil when Leviticus, now is like, that veil was broken and we have full access. Full access. En Cristo, el Dios invisible se hizo visible. La santidad que antes moraba detrás del velo del templo caminó entre los pecadores, entre los leprosos. Juan escribe, vimos su gracia, lleno de gracia y de verdad. Entonces, ¿verdad? Así como la presencia de Dios llenó el tabernáculo, la gloria de Dios ahora llena la persona de Jesús, el verdadero y mayor templo donde Dios es, en donde Dios y el hombre se encuentran, ¿verdad? Seguir la santidad significa seguir a Cristo en rendición, en transformación, no en perfeccionismo, sino en participación. Ser conformado a la imagen de Cristo, como dice como dice Romanos 12, ¿verdad? Conformando nuestra mente, no conformándonos a este siglo, ¿verdad? Seguir, es importante, ¿verdad? Que nosotros tengamos ese deseo de buscar a Dios. Ese deseo de buscar su santidad, ese deseo de caminar con Él. It's important that we have that desire to walk with the Lord, that desire to know the Holy One, that desire that He teaches how to walk, how to show the world, His love, how to be transformed by His presence, how to be the reflection of Him. We want to, and as Isaiah said on his encounter with the Lord, when he said, who shall I send and who will go for us? Then I say, here I am, send me. Here I am, send me. And it's as I said before, Romans 12:1-2 tells how to renew our mind, how to not be conformed to this word, cómo renovar nuestra mente, Romanos 12:1-2, ¿verdad? Cómo renovar nuestra mente, cómo buscar esa comunión, esa cercanía Every true encounter with God led to transformation. Cada vez que alguien se encontró con Dios a través de la Biblia, hubo transformación y hubo misión. Every time that God called somebody, He empowered them. So, todo verdadero encuentro con Dios lleva la transformación y lleva la misión. La exhortación de Pablo a ser transformado por medio de la renovación del entendimiento, ¿verdad? Es algo que nosotros queremos tener, como Isaías dijo, heme aquí, Señor, envíame a mí. Holiness and mission are inseparable. So, si tú quieres que Dios te envíe, tiene que haber ese encuentro con Dios. Cuando Dios se revela a sí mismo, entonces Dios te llama, Dios te transforma, entonces Dios te envía, como le sucedió a Isaías, ¿verdad? Voy a cerrarlo aquí. La semana que viene voy a tratar de que no haya un incidente como el que hubo esta semana y vamos a tocar otro atributo de Dios. Todavía hay unos cuantos temas que quiero tocar, pero lo voy a dejar aquí. Voy a completar el estudio y después lo voy a juntar con la otra porción que hubo ahorita y lo voy a hacer un solo y entonces lo voy a publicar completo. ¿Está bien? Que Dios le bendiga, que Dios le guarde y nos vemos en una próxima ocasión. Nos vemos el martes. El martes nos vemos a las 8. On Tuesday, we're going to be here at 8 o'clock reviewing Monday's lesson. Okay? So have a nice evening. God bless you and the Lord be with you. And I hope that you have a nice night and you have that desire to seek the Lord holiness. God bless you.